Hey, Pete here from TechMyStressAway.com and welcome to part 6 of the WordPress membership crash course. So as I said previously in the other video, this wasn't really planned originally, but as I've gone through and recorded some of the videos, I just feel it's some options that might need addressing and probably a benefit to people watching the series, and also just some stuff from experience. So we're going to be looking at setting up redirects. So for example, ones where someone's logged in, where do they go to? We're going to be looking at that. We're going to edit some of the admin emails instead of just using the stock emails. We're going to rename the WishList Member page title, which is not recommended by WishList themselves, but I'm going to show you how to do that and why we do that. And then we're going to create a custom registration form, again instead of using the stock form. And then the last thing we're going to do is add a login widget, so we'll add it to the sidebar where people log in. So let's go back into the WordPress admin area, and the first thing we're going to do is look at the page redirects. So I'm just going to go into the wishlist dashboard, and then what we need to do is we need to go into setup and then levels. Now just to note here, we can set the redirects for specific membership levels. Now if you've got one, obviously you're just going to do one. If you've got multiple memberships, then you may want to do redirects for each particular one. So just for the example, if we go into the beginners course, so this is how we handle for a specific membership level. So we've got a number of different options. We've got the actual registration URL here, which is important. So we'll look at that in a little bit. Now to manage the redirects for this particular level, if we go to additional settings, we'll see here we've got redirects for different things. So we've got the custom after registration redirect. So once someone's registered, where do we want to send them? So if I just enable that and click on configure, we can set up a number of things. So we can do a page, we can put in a custom URL, or we can do a message. Now I'm going to do page, and then if we go to the one that I set up for registered, so if you didn't want to do an actual registration page, you can just do the after login and use that page there. So we could do the logged in. Now I'm going to do the registered one, so this is where we would put like a welcome video or something like that. And if we just save and close it. Now for setting the page where they go to after they log in, so this is every time they log in, do we want to send them to a specific page? So if we enable that, I'm going to send them to my logged in page, which is actually already set. So I'm going to send them to the logged in page that I created. Click save and close. So after they've logged out, we can send them to a specific page as well. I haven't created one for a logged out, but what we can do is if I send them back to the actual members home page, if you remember I created, called members, that'll just take them to the page where they can basically log in, or it might give them instructions on what they need to do, etc. So I'm going to click and save and close that. Now again, with the admin emails, we can go to email notifications, and we can see we've got a number of options here. So we've got the new member registration, incomplete registration. So say they paid through Stripe and went to the registration form but didn't complete it, you can actually send an incompletion registration which tells them to go to the registration page and register. You can also set emails up for someone who's cancelled and then someone who's uncancelled. So you can have a look through these options here. I'm just going to have a look at the new member registration one. So if we click on edit notifications, I'll just make this slightly bigger, we can see here that this is enabled, and under user notification you can set the name and email address. It's going to take the default one, and then this is the subject line for the email, so you may want to personalize that a bit more and say what membership it is they've actually registered for, etc. Now there's some shortcodes or merge codes as they call it you can set here. So you may want to obviously edit this email and the wording of it, but just to show you, if we get rid of this first name here, I'll just show you how to actually add a merge code. So if we put the cursor where we want the merge code to go, if you see this option here, insert merge codes, we can see what fields we can use. Now when we go through to create the registration page, you can actually create your own fields, so if you wanted other things to put in there you can, but this is obviously only information that they've filled in, so we can only send that obviously. So we're just going to keep it as first name, and you'll see it creates this little merge code. Now the membership level, again, you can leave that as standard. That'll just be the name of your membership level that you've set. And then it says here the username and password. Now the only thing I'd probably change here is this login URL, because from experience when someone clicks that link it takes them to like the WordPress dashboard login. Now if you're setting a login widget, which I'm going to show you again, so on your members homepage, we can just send them to the members homepage, which is basically what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to copy the site URL, and then I forgot you can't right click and paste, so I'm just going to highlight this and I'm going to hold down Control and V to paste that in, and then I'm going to add members because that's the members page. And then you may want to obviously add your name or whatever. This is just a stock one, so like I said, you're probably going to want to personalize all this, so that's all you need to do there. The admin notification, this is the email that will get sent to you when someone registers, so there's probably not anything you need to put on there. Maybe you want to change and put whatever level they registered to if you've got different memberships, but the standard one is usually okay. It's just really just to notify you the name and stuff like that, so I tend to just leave that as is. So I'm just going to save and close that. Now the next thing we're going to look at is renaming the WishList member page. So if we go to pages, we'll see when you install WishList, it creates like this default WishList member page. Now this is very important how it works, and this is really why they tell you not to change it. But the problem is when it's called WishList member, when someone actually reaches this page, and I'll show you how that can be done, it will show WishList member, which can be confusing because WishList doesn't mean anything to your members. So I'm just going to click on edit, and we'll see here we've got the page title, and as it says here, it's an auto-generated page and do not edit or rename. Now it's totally up to you, you can leave this as is if you want, but I like to change the title. So the important part here is the wishlist member. This is the actual page that needs to stay intact, so the permalink needs to stay this here, but this page title can be named whatever you want. Now if you've got a theme where you can hide titles, you could do that. So if I go to, I'm using the generate press theme here, you can actually disable elements, so I could actually disable the content title so this page title wouldn't show. But I'll show you how if we just change this to non-member, because basically this page is generally shown when someone tries to access something they shouldn't do, or they're not logged in and they can't access it. So I've changed this to non-member just to show you. So then if we update the page, again, if we just check, make sure the URL stays intact and the way it should be, so it does. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you when someone tries to access a member page again. So if I just get the URL to lesson 1, we know this is a members only page. So if I just open that in an incognito window, we'll see here, this is what I've changed non-member. So there is other ways, like I've mentioned before, sometimes you can have links where if you don't hide it, then it'll let them access pages that they're not supposed to access. So sometimes you can miss how people can get to these like members only pages, or even if it's a member who's not logged in, etc., but they've saved the URL somewhere. So it just makes more sense rather than having this as WishList Member. This doesn't really mean anything to them. So I just tend to change this text, and you could use whatever you want that makes more sense to you. But I just thought I'd show you that because from experience it doesn't look right. So I'm just going to close that, and then if we now move on to creating a custom registration form. So again, if I go back to WishList Member, and then if we select advanced options and registrations, here we can create a custom registration page. Now if we click on that, we can call it what we want. So I'm just going to call it custom form, and then we click apply, and then we'll see here we can have all the fields. So we can add different things, special fields, so like paragraph text. So let's say you was using someone like PayPal, so if we drag that in and drop it, you can actually add text here. Now it is in HTML format, so I'm just going to keep this with the P tags in, and I'm going to put thanks for purchasing. So with PayPal you need to put some specific text to tell people what they've bought on a thank you page. So remember, when someone's paid, they're going to get brought back to the registration page. So if there's any kind of thank you message that you want to add, you need to add it to your registration form. So I'm just going to put that there just so we've got something in. And then if we close that, we'll see here we've got the standard fields. So we've got username, first name, last name, email, password. Now for me this doesn't make sense, so I like to put the username and the password together. So they enter their information first, so the name, email, and then username, password. This is obviously what they're going to use to access the members area going forward. So I just like it in that order, so that tends to be why I create a custom form in the first place. Then if we save and close that, this is now available globally. So if we go to the actual membership level, so click on setup, levels, and click on the actual level that we're doing. If we go to registrations, we can select here to enable a custom form. Then we select our custom form. Now also something that I tend to turn off is this allowing both new and existing members. Now I'll leave this on for a second just so you can see what that looks like. So if we copy the registration URL, and then I'm going to open this up in an incognito window and paste that in. We'll see here that the registration header's in. This is our thank you text. Now what happens is if you have that existing and new member option on, it will give them this option to switch between. Now it's looking a bit weird on here. I don't know if it's to do with my theme or something, but I'm not going to be too concerned about that at the moment, but it lets them switch between. So you can see if they're an existing member, they just enter in their username and password. So this is for people that are already members and they buy another course or another membership. They can use their existing information, or if they're new, they can create a new one. Now if you've got obviously one membership level, I would definitely switch this off because you don't want to confuse them with creating an account and an existing. So if we go back, I tend to just do this to new members only. So just something for you to think about. Now the last thing we're going to look at is adding the actual login. So if we go to appearance and then we go to widgets, we want to add a login to the sidebar. So at the moment we've only got obviously pages. Now normally when you structure it, I would create a custom menu for this, because when you use something like the pages widget, it'll show everything by default. Now obviously we don't want to be showing the logged in page and registered and all that kind of thing. So just create a custom menu so they can navigate around your lessons here. So if we go back to widgets, I'm just going to remove this. And then if we see, we have this WishList Member widget. So if I drag that up and put that into the sidebar, we've got some options that we can fill in here. So this is the title of the widget when they're logged in. So you could just put something like logged in, and then this is when they logged out, so I tend to put something like member login, and then I do always hide the RSS link, the registered link, and I leave that off. Hide the membership level, and then you can, if you want a wider form, you can change the length here. And then if we click save, and then what we'll do is if we go to pages, and then for example if I go to the members home page that I created and open that, we'll now see we've got this login box on the right hand side. So this is where I've set it for members to go to, like when they've first registered. So if you remember, the email that gets send them to this members page, and then what they will do is they'll enter the username and password, click login. If they've forgotten the password, they can reset it there. And that's it for this video. So in the next video, and probably the last video, we're going to go through and test everything. So we're going to register as a member, go through the payment process, etc. I'll see you in the next video.